1 a.m. The pounding on the door was relentless. I opened it, and my daughter collapsed, lips bleeding, face covered in bruises. My hands shook as she whispered, "Dad." It was Robert, and Denise. Her phone buzzed. A message flashed on the screen. "Open your mouth and you'll lose everything." My heart felt like it would explode. What is a father supposed to do when the man beside his daughter is not only her husband, but also a thief? Want to know the truth behind this threat? Subscribe and follow the channel so you won't miss it. My name is Thomas Ramirez. I am 58 years old, though my bones sometimes feel older. My hair carries streaks of gray that match the gravel roads of this small Texas town. Once, I am a police officer here, standing tall and proud in uniform, until a back injury forces me into early retirement. I live in a wooden house on the edge of town, where the porch faces the restless wind and the nights never feel truly quiet. People in this town know me as calm, patient, maybe even too forgiving. But deep down, I carry regrets that weigh heavier than any badge ever did, regrets about not protecting my family when they needed me the most. Emily is my only daughter. At 28, she has the kind of smile that once could light up an entire room, though life has dimmed it too often. She is petite, gentle, and always the one to sacrifice her own dreams for others. She marries Robert Miller when she is still young, convinced that love will keep them safe. I remember her wedding day, her white dress glowing under the Texas sun, her laughter echoing like bells. She looks at Robert with eyes full of faith. And me, I believe in him too, or at least I want to. I shake his hand and feel a firm grip, and I think he is a man who will stand by her. But years later, I see the truth. His grip is not strength, it is control. Robert Miller is 32. To the outside world, he is charming, ambitious, a man who owns a pawn shop in town and always has a quick smile. He buys drinks for his friends, greets neighbors by name, and shakes hands at church on Sundays. But behind closed doors, his mask slips. He is cruel, greedy, and violent. He raises his voice until it shakes the walls, and when words fail, his fists follow. He is the kind of man who values possessions more than people, pride more than peace. To Emily, he is both a husband and a prison guard. In this town, whispers move faster than the wind. People say they know everything about everyone, but they only see the surface. They see Robert smiling at the grocery store, Emily walking quietly beside him, and they assume it is happiness. They do not hear the slammed doors or the muffled cries at night. They do not see the bruises covered with makeup or the forced smiles at family gatherings. Our neighbor, Camila Lopez, is one of the few who notices. She is in her 50s, a widow with sharp eyes and a security camera pointed toward the street. She often brings over tamales or fresh tortillas, but beneath her warmth lies a quiet vigilance. She sees more than she says. She becomes an unlikely ally in a story that will test all of us. Then there is James Collier, the family lawyer. James is a man of steady voice and steady morals. He helps me with paperwork after my retirement, and though we are not close friends, I know I can trust him when the storm comes. And of course, there is Denise Carter, Robert's mistress. A younger woman drawn to Robert's promises of money and security, only to find herself entangled in lies and debts. She plays a part in this web of betrayal, though she does not know yet how deeply she will fall into it. Life in this town is supposed to be simple. The sun rises over dusty fields, kids ride bikes past old wooden fences, church bells ring on Sunday mornings, and gossip fills the diner where everyone orders the same coffee. But beneath that surface of normalcy lies the kind of storm no one expects: violence, deceit, and betrayal that spread through a family like wildfire. The night Emily collapses at my doorstep, I realize how blind I have been. For months, maybe years, she hides the truth from me, smiling when she visits, insisting she is fine. I convince myself she is happy, because it is easier than asking hard questions. I see the shadows under her eyes, the way she flinches when someone raises a hand too quickly, but I push the doubts aside. I tell myself Robert is a good provider, that every marriage has struggles, that she will be okay. Now, as she lies broken in my arms, I see the price of my silence. Inside my living room, under the dim yellow glow of the lamp, I clean Emily's wounds with trembling hands. My fingers move gently, but inside I burn. She winces when I press a cloth against her bruises, yet she does not cry. Her silence cuts deeper than any scream. I ask her what happened, though I already know. She whispers Robert's name, then adds another Denise. The sound of that name makes my jaw clench. Her phone buzzes on the table. I glance at the screen, and there it is, a message from Robert. "Open your mouth and you'll lose everything." My chest tightens, anger roaring in my ears. This is not a family quarrel. This is not a husband losing his temper. This is a battle for my daughter's survival. I call a taxi, and we head to the hospital. The night is quiet, but my mind is loud with questions. How long has this been happening? How many times has she come close to breaking? How did I not see it sooner? My badge may be gone, but my instincts are still sharp. And those instincts tell me this is only the beginning. The hospital's fluorescent lights hum as we wait. Doctors confirm Emily's injuries, bruises, possible fractured ribs. They ask questions, but Emily hesitates. Fear chains her tongue. I can see it in her eyes. She worries Robert will find out, that he will make things worse. I place my hand on hers and tell her she is safe now. But the truth is, I am not sure yet if safety is something we can reach. Back home, rumors begin to swirl. In this small town, nothing stays hidden. People whisper at the diner, at the gas station, even at church pews. They say Emily is exaggerating. They say she wants money. They say Robert would never do such things. Gossip twists reality until the victim looks like the villain. I hear the whispers, and each one feels like a knife in my back. But then, hope comes from an unexpected place. Camila Lopez knocks on my door one afternoon. She holds a USB drive in her hand. Her security camera captured something: Emily, pounding desperately on my door at 1 in the morning, bruised and broken. The footage is grainy, but the truth is undeniable. Camila places it in my hand and says, "For your daughter, use it wisely." I thank her, though my throat tightens with emotion. That night, I watch the footage over and over. Each frame is a reminder of how far Robert is willing to go, and how close I come to losing Emily. But it also becomes proof, the kind of proof that can break through lies. Still, I know it will not be enough. Men like Robert do not fall easily. They hide behind charm, behind money, behind lies whispered in the right ears. I need more than bruises and video clips. I need to dig deeper, to uncover the rot beneath his mask. As days pass, I uncover more. Bank papers with forged signatures, land deeds transferred without Emily's consent. Robert is not just abusive, he is stealing. He is greedy enough to take the family land Emily inherits, greedy enough to put it in Denise's name. When I hold those papers in my hands, the picture becomes clear. Robert is not just a cruel husband. He is a cunning thief, willing to destroy everything to feed his pride and his mistress. And so, as I sit at my kitchen table late at night, the evidence spread before me, I make a vow. I am not only a father. I am a man who once stood for justice, and though my badge is gone, my fight is not. Robert thinks he can silence Emily with fear, that he can twist the town with lies, that he can steal with impunity. But he does not know me, not truly. He does not know how far I am willing to go to protect my daughter, because this time, I will not stay silent. This time, I will make sure he faces the storm he has sown. The night grows heavier after the hospital visit. Emily lies in a clean white bed, her face pale, her breathing shallow, yet she refuses to close her eyes. I sit by her side, the hum of machines filling the silence. My hands rest on my knees, fists tight, as if clenching them will stop me from breaking apart. I have seen blood before, bruises before. I have walked crime scenes, stood over victims, and written reports on tragedies. But nothing prepares me for this, the sight of my own daughter lying there, torn apart, not by a stranger, but by the man who vowed to cherish her. When a nurse enters to check on Emily, I step into the hallway. The walls are painted in soft colors, but they cannot disguise the sterile, lonely feel of this place. I lean against the wall and rub my temples, questions pounding inside my head. How long has this been happening? Why didn't she come to me sooner? And more bitter than all, how did I not see it? Emily's phone buzzes again. I almost ignore it, but the sound is sharp in the silence. I glance down and see Robert's name. Against my better judgment, I unlock the screen. His words cut deeper than fists. You open your mouth, you lose everything. I control what's yours, what's mine, what's ours. Don't test me. My blood boils. He threatens her, even while she lies in pain. He is not worried, not even cautious. He is confident. Confident she will stay silent. Confident I will do nothing. But he is wrong. The next morning, I drive Emily back home with me. She does not want to return to the house she shares with Robert, and I do not argue. My wooden home may be old, but it is safe. I prepare a room for her, the same one she grew up in, with pale curtains and the faint smell of lavender still clinging to the sheets. She runs her fingers across the dresser, across the photos of her childhood, and I see tears glisten in her eyes. For a moment, she is not 28 and broken. She is a little girl again, safe in her father's house. At breakfast, she barely eats. Her eyes stay down, her voice almost a whisper. "Dad, I'm scared." The words hit me harder than any punch. I take her hand across the table, my voice steady. "You're not alone anymore. Not one more night, Emily, I promise." But promises are easy. Action is harder. That afternoon, Camila comes by with soup and a look that says she already knows more than I wish she did. She asks softly, "How is she?" I answer honestly, "Bruised, but breathing." Camila nods, then hands me a small envelope. Inside is a printed image from her security footage, the moment Emily pounds on my door at 1 in the morning, her face battered, desperation carved into every line. "If you need it," Camila says simply. I thank her, though my throat is tight. Later that day, Emily gathers courage to tell me more. We sit in the living room, the lamp casting a soft glow. She twists her fingers together, avoiding my gaze. "It's not just the hitting," she says quietly. He took things from me. Papers. I think he signed my name on something. I didn't understand, but I saw my land deeds weren't where I left them. The words make me lean forward, my chest heavy. "What do you mean, your land deeds?" "My inheritance," she says. "The land from Mom's side of the family. I checked the safe last week, it was gone. And when I asked him, he laughed. He said, 'It's his now.' Rage fills me like wildfire. I stand up and pace the room, my fists clenched. This is no longer just bruises and threats. This is theft, betrayal. He is tearing away not only her body, but her future. I spend the night digging. I call old contacts from the force, search county records online, flip through old files I keep in a cabinet, and then I find it. Forged signatures, transfers of ownership, documents that place Emily's inherited land under Denise Carter's name. Denise, the mistress. The betrayal twists deeper, more poisonous than I imagined. The next morning, Emily notices the dark circles under my eyes. "Dad, did you sleep?" she asks. I shake my head. "Not much." She hesitates, then whispers, "What are we going to do?" I meet her gaze. "We're going to fight. He thinks we're weak. He thinks we're silent. But I'm not silent anymore." Still, doubt gnaws at me. Robert has money, influence, charm. He is good at hiding his rot behind polished shoes and smooth smiles. I am just a retired cop with an aching back and a daughter to protect. But I have something stronger than all his lies. The truth. And truth, once uncovered, does not stay buried. The town, however, does not make it easy. Whispers grow louder. At the diner, I hear 2 women at the next booth murmur that Emily is exaggerating to get attention. At the gas station, a man shakes his head and mutters that Robert is a good guy. always helping neighbors. Even at church, where truth should matter, I catch the pastor's wife saying maybe Emily made things up because she regretted her marriage. Each word burns. Each lie twists the knife deeper. Emily hears it too. She tries to stay strong, but one night I find her sitting on the porch, her shoulders shaking. "They don't believe me," she cries. "They think I'm lying." I sit beside her, place my arm around her, and whisper, "They don't need to believe. The truth will. And when it comes out, their whispers won't matter anymore." Days pass. Evidence piles up: hospital reports, Camila's footage, financial documents with forged signatures. Piece by piece, Robert's mask begins to crumble. But I know this is only the start. He will not go down without a fight. He will strike back, harder than before. And I am ready. Because this is no longer just my daughter's battle. This is mine. This is a war for her survival, her dignity, her future. I may be an old man, but when I look at her bruised face, I feel the fire of the badge I once wore. I feel the weight of every victim I once failed, every silence that cost too much. And I vow, with every breath left in me, that Robert Miller will not destroy her. Not while I am still standing. The days blur into each other, but the tension sharpens like a knife. Every hour feels heavy with waiting for Robert to make his next move, waiting for the town to either turn against us fully or finally see the truth. Emily stays in my house, her body healing slowly, but the bruises on her spirit remain deep. She moves like a shadow, quiet and careful, as if afraid that Robert's voice might thunder through the walls at any moment. One morning, while I sip black coffee at the kitchen table, Emily walks in with her phone clutched in her hand. Her eyes are wide, filled with dread. "Dad," she whispers, "he's outside." I push back my chair and step to the window. Sure enough, Robert's truck idles across the street, its engine rumbling like a beast, ready to pounce. He doesn't step out, doesn't knock. He just sits there, staring at the house. My fists clench, but I force myself to breathe. If I confront him now, in anger, I'll give him what he wants: chaos, a chance to twist the story. So instead, I call the sheriff's office. But the deputy on duty speaks with hesitation. "Unless he comes onto your property, Mr. Ramirez, we can't do much." The law. I once believed it was a shield. Now, it feels like a wall keeping me from protecting Emily. Robert eventually drives away, but the damage is done. Emily trembles, her hands gripping the edge of the counter. "He won't stop," she says, voice breaking. I place my hand over hers. "No, he won't. But neither will we." That afternoon, I meet with James Collier, the family lawyer. His office smells faintly of old books and coffee, his desk cluttered but organized in its own way. James listens carefully as I lay out the evidence: Camila's footage, hospital reports, the documents I uncover. He adjusts his glasses and sighs. "This is strong, Thomas, very strong. But you know Robert, he'll fight, he'll deny, he'll drag Emily through the mud." "I don't care," I answer, "as long as the truth comes out." End of. James nods, tapping the papers with his pen. Then we prepare. We build a case so solid that even Robert's lies collapse under it. When I leave his office, the Texas sun glares down on me, but for the first time in days, I feel clarity. This is no longer just about protecting Emily in silence. This is about exposing Robert, stripping away his mask, and making him face consequences he cannot charm his way out of. But Robert is not idle. That evening, Camila knocks on my door again, her face tight with worry. "Thomas," she says, "you need to know something. He came to my house today. He asked about my camera. Asked if it was recording. I lied, told him it hasn't worked in months, but he didn't believe me. He looked at me like he already knew." A chill runs down my spine. Robert is hunting for cracks in our defense. He knows the footage is dangerous. That night, I cannot sleep. I sit on the porch with my old police jacket draped over my shoulders, the night wind biting at my skin. Memories surface: cases where victims stayed silent, where evidence slipped away, where abusers walked free because no one pushed hard enough. I remember promising myself I would always fight for the voiceless. Now, With Emily's life hanging in the balance, I realize this is the moment that promise matters most. The next few days bring more revelations. I dig deeper into Robert's finances, using contacts who still respect me from my days on the force. What I find is worse than I expect. Forged checks, unpaid debts, shady deals through the pawn shop. Denise Carter's name appears again and again, tied to accounts that funnel money from Emily's stolen land. It is a web of greed, and Robert sits smugly at the center of it. I confront Emily with the papers, laying them on the table. She stares at them, her hands trembling. "He really did it," she whispers. "He took everything." I nod, my voice low. "And he's not stopping, unless we stop him." Her eyes, though filled with fear, flicker with something else, anger. "Then let's stop him," she says. For the first time, I see the fire in her, the strength I always knew was there. But as we gather evidence, the town begins to turn. At the grocery store, I overhear two men muttering that Emily is just after money. At church, someone pats my shoulder and says, "Maybe you're overreacting, Thomas." Robert's a good man. Their words sting, not because they doubt me, but because they remind me how blind people can be when faced with a smiling liar. One evening, Robert himself appears at my gate. He leans against his truck, arms crossed, smirk plastered on his face. "Thomas," he calls out, "you can't keep her locked away forever. She's my wife. She belongs with me." I step forward, my voice cold. She belongs to no one but herself. His smirk fades slightly, replaced by a flicker of anger. "Careful, old man. You don't know what you're getting into." I hold his gaze, steady and unflinching. "No, Robert, it's you who doesn't know what you've started." He spits on the ground, climbs back into his truck, and drives off, tires spitting gravel. Emily watches from the window, her face pale, but when I return inside, she meets my eyes. "You stood up to him," she whispers. I nod, and I'll keep standing. The storm builds day by day. Hospital records, financial forgeries, Camila's footage, it all forms a puzzle that paints Robert for who he truly island. Yet I know one final piece is missing. Denise Carter. She holds more secrets than anyone, and if she turns against Robert, his empire of lies will collapse. So I make a decision. I will find her. The bar smells of smoke and stale beer when I push open the door. It is a roadside place on the outskirts of town, where people come to disappear for a few hours. I wear a cap pulled low, and an old jacket that hides my frame. I no longer carry a badge, but the instincts never fade. Always watch the exits, always notice the hands of the men around you, always read faces before they read you. Denise Carter sits in the back booth, her eyes darting nervously as she stirs a half-empty glass. She looks younger than Robert, but the lines around her eyes tell a story of debts and bad choices. When I slide into the booth across from her, she startles, then relaxes when she sees who it island. "Mr. Ramirez," she says quietly. "I thought you'd come." "You thought right," I answer. I place a folder on the table, the edges worn from my grip. "I know Robert forged Emily's signature. I know he put her land in your name. And I know you're drowning in debt. If this all comes to light, you'll go down with him." Her hands tremble as she lifts her glass. "I didn't want any of this. He said he loved me, said he'd take care of me. Then he used me, made me sign things I didn't understand." I lean forward, my voice steady. "You understand now. You have a choice, Denise. Keep covering for him and lose everything, or testify against him and save yourself." Tears fill her eyes. She bites her lip, glancing around the bar as if Robert might materialize from the smoke. "He'll kill me if I turn on him." I slide another paper toward her copies of her own debts, accounts Robert hasn't paid. "He's already killing you, Denise, just slower." For a long moment, she says nothing. Then she nods, her hands trembling as she pushes the folder back to me. "I'll do it. I'll testify." Relief washes over me, though I keep my expression calm. "Good. When the time comes, you'll speak the truth. That's all I ask." When I step back into the night air, the stars stretch across the Texas sky, cold and unblinking. For the first time in weeks, I feel a shift in the tide. Denise is scared, but she is ready. And with her, the case against Robert grows undeniable. But Robert is not a man who waits quietly. The next evening, while Emily and I eat dinner, a rock shatters the front window. Emily screams, glass scattering across the floor. I grab her, pull her down, heart pounding. When I rush outside, all I see are fading headlights disappearing into the dark. Emily clutches my arm, her voice shaking. It was him. I know it was him. I hold her close, my anger steady now, like a fire that no longer flickers, but burns constant. He's scared. That's why he lashes out. The walls are closing in, Emily. He knows it. The following days, I spent hours with James Collier, preparing every document, every piece of evidence. We lined them up like weapons, hospital records, financial fraud, Camilla's footage, Denise's testimony. Each piece is a nail in Robert's coffin. Emily begins to change too. She still carries fear, but I see strength growing in her. One night, she looks at me across the table, her voice firm. "Dad, I want to testify too. I want them to hear me." Pride swells in my chest. "Then you will," I tell her, "and I'll be right there beside you." The town still whispers, still doubts, but I no longer hear them the same way. Their words are smoke, and smoke cannot hide the fire that is coming. Robert thinks he can control the story, but the story is slipping out of his hands. One late evening, I sit on the porch with Emily beside me. The cicadas sing, the night air thick with heat. She leans her head on my shoulder, something she hasn't done since she was a little girl. "Do you think we'll win?" she asks softly. I take a deep breath, watching the horizon where the night meets the land. "We won't just win, Emily. We'll end this, once and for all. Because now, the battle is no longer hidden. It is heading toward the open light of a courtroom where lies shatter and truth stands. And I, Thomas Ramirez, father, retired cop, will see to it that my daughter's voice is heard and Robert Miller faces the storm he created. The morning after Denise agrees to testify, I wake before the Sunday. The air is still cool, and the faint smell of mesquite drifts in through the open window. For years, I have lived by routine coffee at dawn, a slow stretch for my aching back, a walk to the mailbox. But today, routine feels like a stranger. Today feels like the calm before a storm. Emily joins me in the kitchen, her hair tied back, her face still carrying faint shadows of bruises. She pours herself coffee, but doesn't drink it. She stares at the steam as if searching for answers in the rising curls. "Do you think she'll really do it?" she asks. "She will," I reply. Denise is scared, but she's cornered. Robert promised her the world and gave her chains. She knows it now. Emily nods, though uncertainty lingers in her eyes. I reach across the table, covering her hand with mine. We're not alone anymore. Every piece of evidence is a brick. We're building something solid, something Robert can't knock down. Later that day, James calls me to his office. The sun is high, heat pressing down on the town. But when I step into James's office, the air conditioning hums steadily, the room filled with the smell of old paper and fresh ink. James adjusts his glasses, then looks me square in the eye. "Thomas, Denise's testimony changes everything. With her and Camilla's footage, we can expose Robert not just as an abuser, but as a thief. Judges don't look kindly on men who break their wives' bones and their country's laws." I nod, a grim satisfaction tightening my chest. But James doesn't smile. He leans back, his tone cautious. "Robert will sense the net tightening. He may lash out. You need to be ready." "I've been ready," I answer. Though the truth is, no one is ever truly ready for a man like Robert when his back is against the wall. That night, I drive out to the edge of town. The bar where I meet Denise glows faintly in the distance, neon sign flickering. Inside, she waits, pale but resolute. She hands me a folded piece of paper. It's everything I know. The accounts, the signatures, even the night he made me copy Emily's handwriting. Her voice shakes, but her eyes are steady. I take the paper carefully. "You're doing the right thing." She laughs bitterly. The right thing feels a lot like the dangerous thing. I study her face, the tired lines etched by fear. Courage doesn't erase fear, it stands beside it. She exhales, then nods. Then I guess I'll have to be courageous. As I leave, the night air feels heavier than before. I glance around the parking lot, half expecting Robert's truck to appear, but it doesn't. Still, the feeling lingers that we are being watched. Back home, Emily sits on the porch, her gaze fixed on the stars. I used to believe marriage was forever, she says quietly, as I lower myself into the chair beside her. That no matter how hard it got, you stayed because love was supposed to carry you through. I watch her profile, the way the starlight touches her bruised skin. Love doesn't bruise, love doesn't steal, love doesn't threaten. My voice is firm. What Robert gave you wasn't love. It was control. And control isn't worth saving. She leans against me, and for the first time in weeks, her shoulders relax. The next day, James files the paperwork. The courthouse looms in the center of town. Its old brick walls a reminder of justice that sometimes comes slow, but comes nonetheless. Robert is served with notice, and word spreads faster than wildfire. By evening, the town buzzes with it, whispers at the diner, murmurs at the gas station, curious glances at the church. Everyone knows something big is coming. Robert does not stay quiet. He storms into the pawn shop, barking orders, slamming drawers, his temper boiling over. A friend of mine still working on the force tells me Robert's been seen pacing the shop late into the night, drinking heavily, muttering curses under his breath. Men like Robert thrive on control, and when control slips, they unravel. 2 nights later, I hear a noise outside my house. The dogs bark furiously, and I grab the baseball bat I keep by the door. When I step out, I see it spray paint across the front porch. Words dripping red in the moonlight. Rat. Traitor. Dead man. Emily stands behind me, gasping. Dad! I turn to her, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. This is fear talking, Emily. His fear, not ours. But inside, I know it's more than graffiti. It's a warning, a promise of what he wants to do. The following morning, I photograph the damage, send it to James, and file a report. The deputy sighs, saying he'll add it to the file. I see the doubt in his eyes, the quiet reluctance to get involved too deeply. Robert's charm still blinds some, even now, but it doesn't matter. Every act of intimidation is another thread in the noose Robert ties around his own neck. Days turn into weeks, the court date draws near, and the tension wraps tighter with every sunrise. Emily prepares her testimony with James, her voice shaking at first, but growing stronger with each rehearsal. Camila stands ready with her footage. Denise, though terrified, promises to appear. On the night before the hearing, Emily sits at the kitchen table, her hands folded tightly. "What if I freeze up?" she asks. I sit across from her, leaning forward. Then you breathe. You remember who you are. You remember that every word you speak is truth, and truth has more weight than his lies ever will. She takes a deep breath, nodding. I'll do it. For me, for Mom, for us. The morning of the hearing, I pull on my old police jacket. The fabric is faded, the badge long gone, but the weight of it steadies me. As we step onto the courthouse steps, Emily's hand slips into mine. She is not a child anymore, but in this moment, she needs her father, and I am here. Inside, Robert sits at the defense table, his smirk back in place, his suit pressed. He looks at Emily, then at me, with eyes full of contempt. But behind that smirk, I see the flicker of fear. The judge enters, the room quiets, and the turning point begins. The courthouse feels colder than I expect. The walls are high, the ceilings echo with the shuffle of shoes and the whispers of onlookers. Emily sits beside me, her hands folded tightly in her lap, her eyes fixed on the floor. Across the room, Robert leans back in his chair like he owns it, his suit pressed, his tie perfectly knotted. He looks like a man attending a business meeting, not a man on trial for abuse and fraud. His smirk stretches thin, a mask that dares the world to challenge him. When the judge enters, the room rises, then falls silent. The gavel strikes once, a sound that reverberates through my chest. This is it, the moment everything tilts, the moment silence either wins or shatters. James Collier begins the opening statement, his voice steady, his words clear. He lays out the case, the bruises, the hospital reports, the threats, the stolen land. He does not embellish, does not shout, he simply presents facts, each one like a stone, dropped into still water, rippling outward. Robert's lawyer rises next, painting him as a misunderstood husband. He is a businessman, a provider, a man of good standing in this town. He may have had arguments with his wife, but who doesn't? The accusations against him are exaggerated stories fueled by bitterness. I clench my fists under the table. Lies. Always lies. Then it begins. The evidence. First, the hospital doctor testifies. He speaks of Emily's injuries, the split lip, the bruises, the fractured rib. He says calmly, "These are not consistent with a fall. They are consistent with repeated blunt force trauma." Robert's lawyer tries to suggest Emily could have injured herself accidentally. The doctor's eyes harden. No, these injuries are not self-inflicted. They are the result of assault. His words cut through the courtroom, sharp as a blade. Next, Camilla takes the stand. She clutches her purse tightly, her voice soft but firm. She describes the night Emily pounded on my door, desperate for help. Then James plays the footage. The grainy video fills the screen. Emily, bruised and crying, slamming her fists against the wood at 1 a.m. Gasps echo through the courtroom. Even the judge leans forward. Robert shifts in his chair, his smirk flickering. Then comes Denise. She walks slowly, her head bowed, but when she raises her eyes, there is resolve there. James guides her gently, asking how she came to know Robert. She admits to the affair, the promises, the lies. Then she speaks of the land deeds, the forged signatures, the pressure Robert placed on her to play along. Robert explodes. He slams his fist on the table, his voice booming. "She's lying. She's nothing but a jealous woman." The judge bangs the gavel. Order in the court. But the damage is done. His mask slips, revealing the rage beneath. Denise does not flinch. Her voice grows stronger. "He made me copy Emily's handwriting. He said no one would notice. He said Emily was weak, that she would never fight back." But he was wrong. The courtroom murmurs. Robert's lawyer objects, but the testimony stands. The evidence piles higher. Finally, Emily takes the stand. My heart hammers as she walks to the witness chair, her steps small but steady. She sits, her hands trembling, but when James asks her to speak, her voice rings out clear. She tells them about the nights of fear, the fists, the threats. She recounts the message Robert sent, "Open your mouth, and you'll lose everything." Her voice cracks, but she does not stop. She lifts her chin, her eyes meeting Robert's across the room. "I am not weak, I am not silent, and I will not be broken by him again." Tears blur my vision. Pride surges through me, fierce and unrelenting. She is not the fragile girl Robert wants the world to see. She is fire, standing in the ashes he left, refusing to bow. When it is my turn, I take the stand. I speak not as a retired cop, not as a man with regrets, but as a father. I have worn a badge. I have seen cruelty. But nothing cuts deeper than watching my daughter suffer in silence. Today, I am not here as an officer of the law. I am here as her father, and I will not let her fall again. The courtroom stills. My words hang heavy in the air. Robert cannot hold himself back any longer. He rises, shouting, his face red with fury. "You think you can take me down? You think anyone will believe you? I own this town." His voice shakes the walls, but it also seals his fate. The judge slams the gavel, threatening contempt. The jury watches with wide eyes, seeing him not as a victim but as the abuser. He island. James lays the final evidence on Robert's desk. The bank records, the forged deeds, Denise's testimony. He speaks quietly, but each word is a hammer. "From this moment on, Mr. Miller, you are not the one disciplining anyone. The law will discipline you." The judge calls for recess, but the room already knows. Robert Miller is finished. The courtroom resumes after recess, but the air is different now. The whispers have shifted. No longer do they doubt Emily. No longer do they praise Robert. They have seen the mask shatter, and once a mask breaks, you cannot glue it back together. Robert sits stiffly, his smirk gone, replaced by clenched jaws and restless hands. His lawyer whispers in his ear, but Robert waves him off, his pride louder than reason. He thinks he can still win by force of personality, but the evidence hangs around his neck like chains. James rises again, steady as ever. He presents the timeline, each detail laid out with precision. The hospital reports, the threatening texts, Camilla's footage, Denise's testimony, the bank records. Piece by piece, he builds the wall of truth, brick by brick, until there is no door for Robert to escape through. Robert's lawyer tries to strike back, calling Emily dramatic, accusing Denise of lying out of spite, suggesting I am an old man clinging to my police days. But the words fall flat. The jury has seen too much. They have heard the rage in Robert's outburst, seen the bruises in the photos, watched Emily tremble but stand tall. Doubt cannot survive here anymore. The judge calls for closing statements. James stands, his voice calm but unyielding. This case is not about bitterness. It is not about money. It is about truth. Robert Miller abused his wife, threatened her, stole from her, and tried to silence anyone who stood in his way. But silence ends today. The evidence speaks louder than his lies. Justice is not blind. It is here, in this room, and it demands to be served. Robert's lawyer counters weakly. Speaking of family disputes, of misunderstandings, he paints Robert as a hard-working man trapped in rumors. But even as he speaks, Robert glares at Emily with eyes full of hatred, and the jury sees it. They see the man behind the mask. Then the judge turns to the jury. Time slows. Emily grips my hand, her fingers cold but firm. My heart pounds in my chest. I have been in courtrooms before, heard verdicts read, but never like this. Never with so much of my soul on the line. The jury files out, and the silence that follows is unbearable. Every second feels like an hour. Emily leans against me, whispering, "What if?" But I squeeze her hand before she can finish. No what ifs, we told the truth. That's enough. Finally, the jury returns, faces stern, eyes resolute. The foreman stands, a piece of paper in his hands. My chest tightens as the judge asks the question. On the charge of domestic abuse, how do you find the defendant? Guilty. Emily gasps softly, tears springing to her eyes. My grip tightens on her hand. On the charge of fraud and forgery, how do you find the defendant? Guilty. The words echo through the room like thunder. For a moment, I cannot breathe. It is done. It is over. Robert leaps to his feet, shouting, "This is a setup. You're all against me." His face twists with rage, spittle flying from his lips. Two deputies move quickly, grabbing his arms, forcing him down. He thrashes, curses, screams Emily's name like a weapon, but she does not flinch. She sits tall, tears streaming, watching as the man who tormented her is finally dragged away. The judge's gavel pounds, calling for order. "Robert Miller, you are hereby remanded into custody. Your assets are frozen, your fraudulent deeds void. Sentencing will follow, but let this court make one thing clear. Abuse and fraud have no place here." And the deputies haul Robert from the room. His voice fades down the hallway, still spewing venom, but powerless now. Powerless for the first time. Emily collapses into my arms, sobbing. "It's over, Dad. It's finally over." I hold her close, my own eyes burning. "Yes, Mia, it's over. He can't hurt you anymore." Outside, the Texas sun blazes, bright and unforgiving. Reporters gather, townspeople whisper, but none of it matters. For the first time in years, Emily walks with her head high. Camilla hugs her tightly. Denise nods quietly from a distance, tears on her cheeks. James shakes my hand firmly, his eyes saying what words cannot. As we step onto the courthouse steps, Emily turns to me. "You never gave up on me," she whispers. I look at her, pride swelling in my chest. That's what fathers do. We stand, even when it costs us everything. We stand. And as the crowd watches, as the truth settles into the bones of this town, I know Robert Miller has lost more than freedom. He has lost the silence that once protected him, and in its place, my daughter has found her voice. The morning after the trial, the sun rises brighter than I have seen in months. It spills across the porch, flooding every corner of my wooden house with gold. For years, this house has carried silence like a burden, its walls echoing with regrets I never spoke. Now, for the first time, it feels alive again. Emily stands in the kitchen, humming softly as she stirs a pot of oatmeal. The sound is fragile but beautiful, like the first bird song after a storm. She wears a loose sweater, her hair tied back, and though faint bruises still shadow her skin, her eyes hold something new light. I sit at the table, sipping coffee, watching her. Every movement feels like a victory. She catches me, staring, and smiles. "What?" she asks. "Nothing," I say, "just, it's good to hear you sing again." Her smile widens, though her eyes glisten. "I didn't think I'd ever sing again." I reach across the table, my hand covering hers. "You'll do more than sing, Emily. You'll live. You'll build something new." Days pass, and the town changes too. The whispers that once cut like knives now soften. At the diner, people who doubted her nod respectfully. At church, a woman who once spread rumors comes to hug her, whispering apologies. Justice has a way of shifting tides, of forcing people to face the truth they tried to ignore. Camila becomes more than a neighbor, she becomes family. She stops by often, bringing tamales or sitting on the porch to chat. She and Emily laugh together, their voices weaving through the warm Texas evenings. Sometimes I catch Emily leaning on Camila's shoulder, as if drawing strength from a woman who never stopped watching out for her. Denise disappears from town shortly after the trial. No one sees her truck at the bar anymore. No one whispers her name at the market. But before she leaves, she sends a letter to Emily. In it, she writes, "I am sorry. I thought I was gaining a future, but I was helping a man destroy yours. I hope my testimony gives you back what he stole. May you heal in ways I never could." Emily folds the letter carefully, tucks it into her dresser, and says nothing more. Some wounds do not need words. They need time. Robert sits in county jail, waiting for sentencing. Rumors say he rages in his cell, that he still claims the world is against him, but for us, he is nothing more than a ghost locked behind bars. His voice, once so loud in our lives, is now muffled by concrete walls and iron bars. Emily begins to rebuild. She returns to her job at the local library, where shelves of books wait like old friends. The first day she steps inside, the staff welcomes her with open arms. She comes home that evening with a stack of novels and a spark in her eyes. "I forgot how much I love the smell of books," she says, pressing one to her chest like a treasure. I watch her grow stronger each day. She walks taller, speaks louder, laughs freer. Sometimes she still wakes in the night, her breath quick, her body trembling from dreams that drag her back into Robert's shadow. When that happens, I sit with her on the porch, the night air cool against our faces, and remind her, he's gone. He can't touch you anymore. Slowly, she learns to believe it. One afternoon, she surprises me. She stands in the doorway of my study, holding a box. "Dad," she says softly, "I've been thinking about Mom's land. I don't just want it back. I want to use it. For something good." I raise my brows. "What do you have in mind?" Her eyes shine. "A shelter for women who don't have anywhere else to go. For people like me who are too scared to speak, too scared to leave. A place where they can heal, where they can start over." Pride swells in my chest, so strong it almost hurts. "That's a beautiful idea, Emily." She nods, determination lighting her face. "I don't want what I went through to be wasted. If I survived, it has to mean something." Together, we begin planning. We meet with James about legal steps, with Camila about fundraising, with neighbors about building. The land, once stolen through lies, is now destined to become a sanctuary of truth. Weeks turn into months, the house slowly transforms. Fresh paint covers the walls, new curtains brighten the windows, a garden takes root outside. Emily plants roses along the path, saying she wants survivors to see beauty before they even open the door. I build benches for the porch, sanding each one smooth. Every nail I hammer feels like redemption. The town, once divided, begins to rally. Volunteers donate time, supplies, and labor. Even those who once doubted Emily now show up with paintbrushes and hammers. It's as if the shelter becomes a mirror, forcing the community to see itself clearly, to reckon with its silence, and to finally choose compassion. One evening, as the sun sets and the sky turns orange and purple, Emily and I stand together on the porch of the nearly finished shelter. She slips her arm through mine and whispers, "Thank you, Dad, for everything." I turn to her, my throat tight. "No, Emily, thank you for finding your strength, for reminding me what it means to fight." And the cicadas sing, the roses sway gently in the breeze, and for the first time I feel the weight of regret lift from my shoulders. We have walked through fire and come out scarred, yes, but also stronger. As night falls, I realize something simple but powerful. Silence may feed violence, but courage breaks it. Emily's courage, my courage. The courage of everyone who chooses truth over comfort. And in that courage, we find not just survival but life. As I sit on the porch tonight, the crickets singing their endless hymn, I reflect on everything we have lived through. The bruises have faded, the trial is behind us, and Robert is locked away where his fists and lies can no longer reach. Yet the lesson remains, clear as the Texas sky above me. Silence does not protect anyone. Silence only feeds the cruelty of those who thrive on fear. I stayed silent too long, convincing myself that things would get better, that Emily was strong enough to handle it alone, that maybe I was imagining the shadows in her eyes. But silence almost cost me my daughter. Silence almost buried her voice forever. Now I know better. Love is not passive. It is not just sitting by and hoping the storm passes. Love is standing firm in the storm, even when the wind tears at you. Love is saying, "Enough," when someone tries to break the people you care about. For fathers who listen to this, for mothers, for brothers, for sisters, do not turn away from the signs. Do not wait for someone you love to collapse at your doorstep before you act. Speak, protect, stand. Because sometimes the difference between life and despair is the courage to break the silence. Emily's laughter now fills my house again. Her dreams grow roots in the soil of her mother's land. She is not a victim anymore. She is a survivor, a builder, a woman who transforms pain into purpose. And watching her heal has taught me something I wish I had known years ago. Our scars are not just reminders of what broke us. They are proof of what could not destroy us. If my story reaches you, I hope it does more than touch your heart. I hope it moves you to act, to protect, to love fiercely. Because courage is contagious, and when one person stands, others find the strength to stand too. And if this story has spoken to you, stay with us. Share in these journeys of fathers, families, and truth. Together, we can keep telling stories that remind the world. Justice is never too late, love is never too weak, and silence is never the answer.